All right.
At AMD, one of our top priorities is to enable and empower the content creator to create the best VR experience they can.
One of the most compelling uses of VR, I think, is surprise and awe. I think that sense of magic, even in journalistic storytelling, is a really important thing that virtual reality brings to the table.
We can use VR for pro-social purpose, for mental health, rehabilitation, learning.
And that's what AMD is all about. How do we work with an amazing set of partners to bring the new experiences to the market?
All right, so hello everybody. The future of virtual reality is going to come at us at a pace and with a set of changes at a rate which is completely unprecedented in the IT industry. If I have one message for you all today, it is whether you are a producer or a director or you're an investor or you're an analyst, if you're here today, you have an interest in virtual reality. And the single biggest message I have for you, the one big message is this: whatever you are planning, plan not for where you think the technology is now, but plan for where the technology is going to evolve in the next 3 years. A time space which is close enough, you should be building it into your business plan and into the ideas around how you're going to develop the technology. That's the one biggest single message I have for you. And what we're going to show you today is how some of that is going to be manifested. But let me start by addressing the potential elephant in the room, which is that some members of the media, some analysts, have said that perhaps virtual reality is not in the great place that we would hoped, that headset sales haven't been quite as high as we would like. My message to that is to consider Time magazine in 1994 wrote that the internet's never going to take off, that it's never going to work. And in fairness to them, back in 1994, there were only 3.8 million connected devices. Today, we have 60 billion. And I think the same thing should be said. Consider not where virtual reality is today, but where it is going to go. We are today at a place, still far removed, however, to where we want to get to. To get to photorealism is the next big step in virtual reality. To get to full presence will be where we need to go afterwards, when we'll be indistinguishable between actual life and virtual reality. And that's going to need millions and millions of times more acceleration than we have today. But if we look at 2016, I actually contend, and my first proposition to all of you is that 2016 was actually a terrific year. We saw nearly $1 billion worth of headset sales, millions of units from Sony, Oculus, and HTC and others in full production. We saw the opening of the first IMAX VR center. We saw the introduction of Google Earth in VR, a wonderful new way to look at our planet. In London, the world's first VR surgery took place. And also in London, VR was used in court cases to settle legal issues for the first time. And we saw the first piece of VR content to truly go international with raw data from Servios. We also, I believe, started to realize that our understanding of virtual reality is seen through the prism of our current understanding, and our understanding is going to also change and develop. We saw that virtual reality is starting to improve in dramatic ways. At Sundance, Dear Angelica made us feel emotional for the first time. And it was also the first time a major actor or actress got involved in virtual reality. The voiceover is from Gina Davis. We saw groundbreaking new virtual reality experiences like Life of Us. And we saw the continued development of virtual reality in medicine. And we even saw the first talks and public dissertations about how virtual reality can distort time when we're inside of it. We are at the beginning, and we're going to see some really wonderful changes continue to happen. Now, at the same time, we also saw some really wonderful content come to market. And I don't believe that we celebrate, all of those that love virtual reality, and I assume that's all of you, some of that great content. So BAFTA, here we are in Britain, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, has a VR committee. The committee is made up of 30 people. There's 8 ladies, 22 guys, 18 Americans, 11 Brits, and one Singaporean, the CEO of Razer Computers. This consists of people in the content industry, content creators and technologists. And the advisory group got together and came up with a showcase of 32 pieces of content, VR content, which they believe represent the best virtual reality that there are. The original list was supposed to be 10, but there was just so much great content that it was proved impossible to whittle it down. And this list is going to be published, press released later this week. I want to say thank you to Sol Rogers from Rewind Studios, who put together a sizzle reel to show the content. So let's just take a moment to enjoy and celebrate and remind ourselves just how great some of the content was. So some great, great content. And by the way, if you're involved in that content and you're in the room, congratulations to you and well done. You're in the BAFTA showcase. But as great as that content is, and it's really wonderful, I think that one of the challenges we have, and one of the things I want to, my second proposition to you is we need to rethink the Z. Or sorry, I'm in England, the Z. And so when I say that, what I mean is we have been looking for 120 years for a window. And we're starting for the first time to experiment with the fact that we stepped through that window into the other side. But again, we're looking through the prism of our current knowledge and experience. The first movies looked like theater plays because people, when they went into the movies, understood theater. And much of the first VR looks like movies because we understand movies. And yet, actually, we're doing something much more profound in virtual reality. We're able to go forwards in Z-depth and backwards in ways of which I don't believe that we're really starting to understand. Let me give an example. Case Western University uses Microsoft HoloLens to help us to understand the body much better. But in virtual reality, we have the ability not just to look at organs, not only just to look at the way the blood works and goes around the body, we have the ability to understand how cells work. We have the ability to go into subatomic detail forward into the body. And at the same time, virtual reality gives us the ability to zoom out into outer space so we can understand a universe and a galaxy. This scale, to go from subatomic to universal size, and yet we're only operating in this kind of part here. We're only using part of the Z. And that's why I say I think we need to reimagine the Z. I'll give you one more example. This is the Epson Moverio, where they're using augmented reality overlaid into industrial applications, and it's really, really good. But it suddenly made me think, hang on a second, you could do that to become a skilled Swiss clockmaker or watchmaker. We need to rethink the Z. We need to think how far in we can go and how far out we can go. And as we start to realize that, we start to consider that actually we can use virtual reality in even more ways than we do today, and ways that we can't imagine yet, but which people like yourselves in the room will start to invent and imagine. So my third proposition to you is there's never been a better time for innovation. If you are sometimes wondering that all the cool stuff has been done, it has not. It is absolutely not. This is ground zero for our new immersive world, and probably the next 30 years will see inventions we couldn't possibly imagine today, any more than you could have imagined a smartphone in 1920. And so I think this is an incredibly exciting time to be alive, and an incredible time to working in technology. And I'm going to embrace this again at when we finish. So I'm breaking this presentation, this keynote for you today, into two parts. The first is about how content's going to evolve in the next 3 years, and the second part is how distribution is going to evolve in the next 3 years. So the first thing I want to tell you is we're going to see great games, groundbreaking games, which are going to make a huge difference. New methods of movement, dramatically better chips, CPUs and GPUs, and we're going to see richer, deeper content. So let's go into that right away. One of the challenges of virtuality is movement. Now, 360 VR is great. We all love 360 VR. But of the BAFTA showcase content was dominated by game engine-based VR. And the reason for that is we want to interact. Looking around is great, but we want to interact. The problem with interaction with game engine is the quality of the experience, the fidelity, and the second thing has been movement. How do you move? If you move like a first-person shooter, if you move like you're going to move in Call of Duty, we worry about that. That's going to make you feel nauseous. So we came up with teleporting. And teleporting is a great way to move around in a game engine-based virtual reality. But the problem with teleporting is you lose presence. One moment I'm in a spooky, dramatic scene, and the next moment I'm spun over there. It doesn't feel doesn't keep me in the presence. So I want to congratulate and share with you the groundbreaking work that Servius have done. Servius is a company that brought us raw data, one of the most successful pieces of VR yet released. Available in more than 32 countries for location-based VR, and a top seller on Valve and Steam. They have invented something called fluid locomotion. By watching the way we use our arms and our hands, whether we're walking like this or running, we use our hands. And so what they've done is come up with a system where the hand movement propels you forward, where you can actually leap, you can duck, you can roll, and I can tell you if you've not tried it, it's completely intuitive. And we do have it here. The first game to use fluid locomotion is going to be Sprint Vector. I am incredibly excited about this. Not only is Sprint Vector a great VR game, but this method of movement, I think, is groundbreaking. Remember what I said? If you think it's been invented, it hasn't been invented yet. There are so many areas for us to innovate. And I'm very, very excited about what Servius has introduced and where we will see it used elsewhere. But that's movement inside of the environment. What about movement actually in the real world? Well, one of the challenges we face is those pesky wires. What to do with the wires? They're either around on the floor or we're suspending them from the ceiling, but those wires are an inhibitor to what should give great freedom of movement. If Servius can invent a system for us to move around and get all sweaty and get excited, then I don't want those wires to be an inhibitor. So it's very, very important that one of the most important things we do next, get rid of the pesky wires. So I'm very pleased to tell you that AMD has come up with a solution. And I'd like to welcome on stage Pat and Sven, formerly with Nitero, to tell you about something we've done to remove wires. So come on up, Pat. Please give them a warm welcome. So Pat, I think we're going to start with you, and you're going to talk about the deal that we announced this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the kind introduction, Roy, and it's great to be here at VRWC, I guess it is. First time. All right, sorry about that. And very happy to be part of a company that's at the forefront of VR with AMD. I want to talk a little bit about Nitero. We've been completely focused on wireless VR, and that's why this marriage really makes a lot of sense. We've taken a high-performance 60 gigahertz chipset with integrated beamforming. We've tailored it specifically to transmit stereoscopic video at unheard of latencies. And all this requires multi-gigabit transmission in VR room scale environment. Going forward with AMD, we plan to continue to push this product forward, really focused on next generation VR and all the great capabilities it's going to bring. You know, Roy was talking about all these, 2017 to 2020 disruptions. Just imagine what that's going to do to the headset, and then, obviously the requirements of the headset. So, what we like to think of as Nitero is that once we enable integrated consumer wireless, the consumer is never going to tolerate wires again. And with that, let's Sven talk a little bit more about the product.
So yeah, thanks a lot. So I think this is actually the first time that this has been shown publicly, so I think this is a great venue to show it off. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So being a chip designer, and looking at the requirements of VR now and into the future, kind of have to ask, like, what is wireless VR and what's needed, and form factor, latency, and power. Unless you build your own chip, you're not going to be able to heavily influence that. This thing is tiny. This is like your pinky nail. The power is the lowest that is out there. And the latency, when we talk to people about it, we measured it, we know things are true. Our latency is so low that people don't believe it. Additionally, by being a chip designer, we're able to also control the protocol, build it very proficiently. With the demands that you have in VR and the nature of how things work, this isn't taking the way, great technology like Wi-Fi and the way it works and kind of bending it up to solve VR. VR deserves its own protocol. We're based on 8211 AD, but we've done a lot of cool things to improve it, including the beamforming. And when you take our beamforming that we've built, combine it, with the ability to have custom antenna configurations, depending on what part of the system you are. Are you the PC? Are you the HMD? Are you something else we need in the VR architecture? Being able to develop all these, on our own, but now within AMD and next to the other great products in the family, we are so thrilled. I mean, just super excited, and I think this is a great event to talk about for the first time.
Thanks, Sven. Thank you. So stay there just one moment. So I want you to imagine something. AMD is a company which drives virtual reality through PlayStation and the future with Xbox and in home computers. Over the next 3 years, we will continue to develop our CPUs, our new Ryzen CPUs. So we'll have world-class CPUs, better than anybody else's, for virtual reality in particular. We will continue to lead with GPUs, and yes, we will lead with GPUs. Now imagine a world where you have a company that has world-leading CPU, a world-leading GPU, and now has this kind of wireless technology. Now start to imagine what kind of products are going to be coming to market. So I'm really, really excited about this partnership with Pat and his team and with Sven. And I want to finish on one last thought about wireless. It needs to be fast. It needs to be really, really fast. It needs to be so fast that you don't think about it, that you have no consideration about it whatsoever. So, Pat, how fast is this going to be?
It'll be the world's fastest consumer wireless product.
Fast, really fast, as fast as you could ever imagine. This will be wireless that's fast and fluid and silky smooth, and when it gets into your hands, you'll never give any consideration to a wire ever again. Pat, Sven, thank you very much. So we're going to have great technology, and we're going to have new ways of moving inside VR. The next thing, of course, you need is really fantastic content. Now, so far, we have some great games. We celebrated with BAFTA on some of the really wonderful content that's out so far. But what we really are all after next is, what's the game that I'm going to spend hours and hours in? What's the game that's going to excite me more than anything else? Well, recently, AMD announced a multi-content, a multi-title, extended partnership with Bethesda. Now, Bethesda is a company you may not know. Some of you may in the room may not know. But I'm sure you've heard of Quake. I'm sure you heard of Doom. You may have heard of Wolfenstein, and you may have heard of Fallout. That's Bethesda, the company that makes some of the best game titles you can ever imagine. And I'm pleased to tell you that Fallout 4 VR will be a groundbreaking VR title. This will be the title that changes an industry. This will be the Mario. This will be the Sonic the Hedgehog. This will be the title that changes the way we think about games and virtual reality. I can't wait for you to see it. I can't wait for you to try it. It's going to change everything. And so I celebrate and I salute and congratulate the courage of Bethesda. They're forward thinking to take on a wonderful, wonderful game title like Fallout and commit it to virtual reality. And I think it's going to be a groundbreaker. It's going to change everything. And when you see the game, look for this. This is the new mnemonic from AMD for VR titles. Never been shown before. We really, really like VR. So we're really, really excited about that. So great content's coming. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to do everything we can to help it. But there is a challenge in game engines. Now, I wanted to show you a visual of Gladiator here from the film. Hands up if you've seen Gladiator. Okay. Remember the opening scene. There's a huge forest battle. It's very dramatic. It's really, really good. That's called the Battle of Vindobona. And I couldn't use the image because I didn't have copyright. So I had to use this one. But I wanted to talk about the complexity of that scene. In that scene, if you remember, okay, the Gauls are in the forest. The Goths are in the forest. The Romans are lined up. There's cavalry, thousands of soldiers. And the scene opens with firing catapults and fireballs. It is dramatic. It's exciting. It makes your pulse race. Wonderful. Absolutely impossible to make today. Ugh. Because the horsepower to make a virtual reality scene like that doesn't yet exist. Because we have to make compromises, what I call the rock, paper, scissors of interactive game engine-based VR. You can have lots of stuff, okay, and you can have really, really high graphics, but then your frame rate is going to go down. And you can't do that. Frame rate must stay high or else we start to feel sick. So if we want to keep the frame rate high, for all of those of you that produce VR, you know someone comes along and says, yeah, you've got to take that out of the scene. And you're like, oh, I really wanted it in there. It's cool. But you've got to take it out. We can't draw it. We don't have enough horsepower to run everything at 90 frames a second with lots of stuff, which we call entities, and really, really high graphics fidelity. It is a challenge. But here's the point I want to make to you. The competition between AMD and our competitors, Intel and NVIDIA, is fierce. It's really fierce. And I think that's a wonderful thing. That competition is really, really great. The quality of the content is going to improve dramatically because we are going to produce better and better CPUs and GPUs, which will give you the power to put more stuff in a scene. So if you are considering some interactive VR right now, think not what the target computer can render today, but think what it can render by the time you bring it to market. And one of the key parts of that is entities, the number of things we can put into a scene. New low-level APIs, and I realize some of you know what an API is. It's the way we build the content. New low-level APIs like Vulkan and DirectX 12 will allow us to take advantage of CPUs which have more cores and threads. Simply put, an 8-core CPU will put more into a virtual reality scene than a 4-core CPU. Cores and threads will give us more entities. And the GPUs that we provide will allow us to render and draw them and make them look really beautiful. This competition, this introduction of these new powerful CPUs and GPUs is going to change what we can put into scenes. And it's going to do this at a profound level. This is my boss, wonderful man, Raja Kaduri, at the Game Developer Conference with Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, which makes it Unreal one of the most popular engines for advanced VR that exists today. And we are talking to Epic about cores and threads and the number of entities so we can create more complex, wonderful scenes. The other thing we need to do is work out the next challenge. That is how to get realistic humans into game engines. This is an experience called EKIA by McInnes Scott, a wonderful, talented team in Los Angeles, who use volumetric capture to take animation, real lifelike animation of humans, and put them into Unreal Engine 4. And what I want to call your attention to is the fluidity of the movement, the natural look of the animation of the characters. The better and more realistic we can make this look, the better and deeper our sense of presence will be, and the more richer the VR experience will be. So I think this is also very exciting, and would love to engage with companies in the UK doing similar work. But now let me come on to the second major theme for this keynote for you today, and that is distribution. How will you get the wonderful things you make out into the world, number one? And number two, what are the business opportunities that exist that can allow you to invest and develop and create richer, better virtual reality? We need a business model to support that. So let's go through that a little bit. First of all, let's look at the forecast for sales of headsets. And these numbers are from John Petty Research. I like John's numbers. They are on the conservative side. We have seen, all of us, a lot of hyperbole about immersive technology and virtual reality. That hyperbole doesn't help us. If we go to our boss, or to our investor, or to our bank manager, and we give him numbers that are unrealistic, the next time we go and ask for that support and investment, we don't get it. I believe that John's numbers are on the conservative side, and I also want to point something else out too. These numbers don't factor in Fallout and the introduction of dramatically great VR, which I think can change the market for the better. But his numbers are 23 million cumulative installed bases between Oculus, HTC, and Sony, and 122 million of mobile. Those numbers are still great. Those numbers are still more than enough for us to have great sales to people at home through Steam, Oculus, or Samsung. But I also want to draw your attention to new entrants, because new entrants are coming. This is China's second largest VR headset manufacturer, the wonderfully named Deepun. Deepun is very, very successful in China. We are going to see new entrants. Those new entrants are going to cause competition. That competition is going to see higher resolution headsets, more comfortable headsets, headsets that solve the problem of ponytails. We're going to see the rapid development of headsets through competition and new entrants. And that also is going to bring about these changes that I've referenced. The other thing we're going to see is the rise and rise and rise and rise of location-based VR. These posters are all over Los Angeles, where I live. They advertise the IMAX VR Center at Fairfax, opposite the Grove. This center is wonderfully popular. It's really, really great. I've been there many, many, many times, and it's always very, very busy. The success of this center is the beginning of something of a profound change we're going to see around getting VR into people's hands through location-based VR. And location-based VR is important not only because we can get access to more people. That's important. Not only because it brings revenues, but VR in the home for advanced experiences is expensive and takes up space. Experiences like this probably are going to be very difficult to sell into the home unless you happen to have a mansion and a lot of money to buy them. But if we put them into location-based experiences, we can give people wonderful virtual reality they couldn't get any other way. And that's the other reason why location-based VR is very important. The location-based experience at IMAX looks like a cinema. Now, it's a dedicated center, but this is inside of the theater, where you can go and you can pick the different experiences and you can pay and you can enjoy them. It's very classy, it's very sophisticated, it's very comfortable. And I believe this is really, really exciting. This is another location-based experience in California from Dimensions VR, which shows that we won't only be in movie theater lobbies and dedicated sites, but we'll go where people are. And these are also proving popular and becoming successful. Now, for my next guest today, to talk about his location-based VR, I'd like to welcome on stage Alicia Karmitz, the president of MK2. Please give him a warm welcome. Shall we run your video first? Yeah, sure. Let's run your video first. Okay. right, well, let's tell the audience about what you're doing in France.
Thank you, Roy. So, just to introduce MK2. MK2 is a family company. We are oriented. We are coming from cinema business since 42 years. We have cinemas in Europe, in France and Spain. We have about 9 million admittance per year. We started VR and opened this location on the 9th December 2016. I think it's the first dedicated location-based in Europe. And as you can see, we try to make it as beautiful as possible to welcome all the best contents. The place is oriented to content creators, and most of the contents you have seen in the BAFTA selections are shown there. It goes from 360 videos, experiences, simulations, documentaries, fictions. We want to offer to the people the choice. And the first thing you can remark on the design aspect is, as we still have wires, we try to make the wires disappear, and we don't have any walls. And all the people here know how complicated it is to do VR without walls. So we try to really create a seamless experience for the customers. And this is now. This is not the future. This is up and running since December. And all the key figures for now are absolutely amazing. So we almost welcome about 10,000 people since December. People are buying time, so we're selling 20 minutes or 50 minutes tickets. The 20 minutes tickets are 12 euros. The 50 minutes are 24 euros. We have just great comments on Google and Facebook. We start at, people are coming and kids are coming starting at 6 years old. Kids love VR, and I can tell you that they are the audience for VR. And when you see a 6-year-old kid using an experience in VR, you can totally trust everything Roy is telling you because they are the audience. And it's like seeing a kid 10 years ago using a cell phone. It's just absolutely amazing. And people are happy, people are loving it, people are coming back, women, people in couple, you know, all the key figures you can think of are just marked with this experience.
Alicia, if someone's in the audience here and they're making content, what message do you have for them?
Send us a mail. Just go to our website. We have a dedicated part in our website to welcome all the projects. We are licensing the content, so we're just wishing to have the best contents, paying for them, showing it in our venue. But we are curators, so we are very, very, very selective. And what we are doing is we are the last meter in between a technology, content, and the audience. And we have a really premium expectations on what we should provide to the customers, because as a cinema operators, we had the experience of 3D, and we don't want to do it again.
Alicia, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, we're not in virtual reality, but we're going to spin from Paris in France over back to California, where I live. And I want to show you, this is Howie's, which is a location-based PC LAN environment, who ran a very, very great promotion with KISS FM. So let's go on to them.
Hey, what up, guys? It's JoJo on the radio. If you're a gamer and you haven't tried virtual reality at Howie's Game Shack yet, you need to get over there ASAP. I was at Howie's Game Shack the other day with my daughter. She had to pull me out of the VR booth. It was so intense. I loved it. I can't tell you how much I loved it. They've got 2 locations in the OC where 40 players can experience VR together. All kinds of video games. Howie's locations in Buena Park and Mission Viejo offer the largest collection of VR gaming in America. So for details, directions, all that, howies.com. Howies.com. Go check it out. Powered by AMD.
Thank you for that. You see the excitement that this is generating? It's really incredible. So now I want to bring up my next guest. So we superpowered ourselves from Paris over to California, and now we're going to superpower ourselves to Beijing in China. And I'd like to for you all to give a warm welcome to Sam Wang, the co-founder and president of So Real from Beijing.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Joey.
Let's start with your video. Sam, why don't you tell everybody about all your great plans?
Okay. Thank you.
You want to take this? Yeah, sure. All right. Over to you.
Yeah, I needed some prep work. I fly more than half a day from Beijing to here. So really, thank you. Thank you, Roy, for the opportunity. So what you just saw is the commercial video of Surreal VR theme park. It's located in the heart of Beijing, literally 2 blocks away from Tiananmen Square. So it's really the center of Beijing. Our company is co-founded by the most famous China director, Mr. Zhang Yimou. He's also directed the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games opening ceremony, and he directed lots of films, well-known like Hero and House of Flying Daggers, and etc. So I would like to give you some information about Surreal venue.
I think you got to point it in the corner, unfortunately.
Okay. Doesn't work.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
No, just go
Sorry.
back.
Okay. Anyways, I think they didn't
All right,
update this
okay.
information, so I'll just talk.
This is
Okay.
live.
Yeah. Okay. So the size of the flagship, which is shown in the picture, it's about 32,000 square foot. It's very big. It's huge. We have 8 different attractions, including the world's largest free-roaming multiplayer VR system, and a VR theater with 25 fully interactive motion chairs, all designed by our Surreal team. We created our own VR content. We also collaborate with big studios and independent content providers to create more variety and better contents. So the content covers from VR games, cinematic VR films, and educational experiences. We started the soft open from the December 2016, hosted more than 5,000 guests in 60 days because there was Chinese New Year. It's Chinese New Year, nobody really go out. It's kind of a Christmas in the West world. So the trail operation, 60 days, about 5,000 visitors visited us with very limited sale without any advertisement. I mean, we get really good feedback from the audience. So the guests will spend about 35 to 55 pounds for a half-day pass, about 7 to 9 pounds for a single experience. That's how we charge people. The biggest challenge we're facing is to getting normal person to understand what VR truly is. As you might all know, VR using the traditional media format to tell people what VR is very hard. So that's our biggest challenge because we need to get the real person to really know what's the differences using the VR experience compared with the old tradition movie experience or tradition game experience. So we're taking the approach that it doesn't matter what technology we employ, but this is simply a futuristic, high-tech amusement park. It allows you to not only see a movie, but actually experience a movie by your own 2 hands and feet, or experience a game in a virtual world with your own 2 hands and feet. Most importantly, in Surreal, you can do most of the experiences together with your friends, but not only by yourself, lonely. I mean, I feel that when you wear a headset by yourself is good, but for location-based, you need maybe more than that. So that's why we have our own multiplayer VR system with a sitting chair, more than 1 chair. It's like 25 chairs. I'd want to do more if I have a bigger space. So China is becoming the 2nd largest market in the world, a film market, and people believe that it will be the #1 film market in the world in less than 5 years. So that's one of the biggest reasons I believe why location-based VR will doing good in China. Our goal is to open more and more Surreal venues with different sizes in China and all over the world. So I welcome all of you to be part of the location-based VR revolution with Surreal, and welcome all of you come to China. Thank you.
And Sam, just before you kick off the stage, do you have a message for anyone producing content here?
Yeah, sure. The same. Send me email. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sam. Good placker. That's it. All right, so what we're going to see in the emergence between 2017 and 2020 is thousands of locations offering VR, offering tens of thousands of experiences. And don't forget, according to John Petty, 23 million installations at home. What does this mean? It means that we're going to rapidly see a real VR industry, not made up of exciting projects, not made up just of marketing vehicles, but a real industry that we can celebrate and take part in. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity. So I'm going to move on now to the last part of the keynote, which is the impact of Hollywood and narrative-based VR. The emergence of an art form that is not games, not really truly movies and not television, but something completely new, which is VRE, or VR entertainment experiences. These started out rather simply as marketing pieces. Sleepy Hollow was shown at Comic-Con in 2014, so 3 years ago. It went on to win the first Emmy for a piece of VR. It was made by Secret Location. It's a great experience. This started what has become this dramatic new art form and an avalanche of content coming out of Hollywood. Last year, we saw Fox launch the Martian VR experience, a sophisticated Unreal Engine-based interactive VR experience with cutscenes from the film. This wasn't for sale either, initially, but it went on to become available for sale. And at that point, the lines between Hollywood making virtual reality to market their films and actually developing an art form, a new, modern movie industry based around virtual reality, really started. And I think this is tremendously exciting because the investment from Hollywood in these is growing and becoming better. Now, last year at VR World Congress, I told you that we would invest in Assassin's Creed VR. That was 1 year ago. Well, we did it, and here it is. So
open your eyes. You're all right. You're in the Animus.
How's the patient?
We're ready.
Good. Let's begin.
This is going to feel a little strange, but don't worry. I'm right here.
Inquisition demands justice.
We're losing it. Up the dosage.
Hang on.
Por el credo.
Stay with it. We're almost there.
Immerse yourself in the world of Assassin's Creed like never before, with an all-new VR experience powered by AMD and Alienware. Download from the Oculus Store today or visit the AMD Facebook page for listings of AMC theaters to experience it live.
So that was one year ago, and I'm pleased to tell you that it came true. And hopefully, if you'll have me back, because I kind of like Bristol, I'll come back next year and show you something new too. This experience was very, very successful, and I thought it'd be interesting to share with you just how successful it was. We, together with AMC and 20th Century Fox, put the experience on in 6 locations, 4 cities in December last year. 20,000 people went through the experience. And as they exited, 10,318 of them took part in a survey. And one of the most interesting things about that survey to me was 30% of the people were older than you would imagine. 35% were women. But all of them were excited enough and pleased enough about the experience to say that they would pay. And this is what's creating this new industry and the ability for location-based experiences like those being put together by Alicia and Sam to come together. So we were very, very excited about this, and the reaction to it was really overwhelmingly positive. So positive that we are starting to see increasingly sophisticated pieces of virtual reality be put together coming out of Hollywood. And so my last, but certainly by no means least guest, is the wonderful Sol Rogers, who helped to produce the Ghost in the Shell VR experience. Sol, please come on up. Let's just show people, show them what you did.
Absolutely.
All right.
This is Major. I'm unsafe.
So is not only a great friend, he works with me on the BAFTA VR committee, he's also a wonderful speaker. And so please tell the audience about what you think is happening around Hollywood and virtual reality.
Well, thank you so much for, let me show you that. So that's a trailer for the VR vignette we created, which was from a reimagining of what the Ghost in the Shell movie is. So it's not specifically tied to the film itself, the experience. It's supposed to be a taste of what we can create using this new medium. So VRE, as you know, is something new. It's not games, it's not film, it's not TV. And for us, we need to find a new way of reimagining it. So taking a piece of IP like Ghosts and then putting it into that world is special. So actually it was released on Rift. So there's a fully fledged real-time engine-driven version. Then there's also a Gear VR version with semi-interactivity, and there's a 360 video version as well. So 3 different flavors come out of it. And the most amazing thing is that once you put the headset on, you're immersed in the world. And we had a lovely comment that Scarlett felt like she was back on set. So for me, that was a win, you know, to get that in that sort of space. But the real change for us as a company is we make VR content, and it's been very much brand-led. Those are the people with the marketing dollars that can actually invest to make high-level, high-quality content. But now LA is beginning to pay attention, and the studios and even the TV companies themselves, like BBC and beyond, are beginning to invest real money to create content for content's sake, for story's sake, and for VRE itself, not just around the movie. Now, this obviously was part of the movie release package, but the piece itself wasn't just for that sake. And so we felt very honored that LA came all the way to sunny St. Albans and Hertfordshire to produce this piece of content.
And so what have you got to say to the audience about your outlook for the next 3 years?
The next 3 years is really interesting. So we were at MIP TV last week, which is the biggest buying and selling of TV episodic in the world. And we were there to showcase that this industry is going to need to turn and pay attention to the type of content that we can now create. There's a consumer market growing slowly, as we know, but very steadily. The destination area is actually making real money right now. And the work that we're doing in the studio behind the scenes is now creating content, long form, in quotes, virtual reality standalone content. And there's real money being invested. So it's the right time to get involved to actually make content yourselves.
And again, as I did with the previous 2 guests, if you have a message for anybody producing content here today, what would that message be?
Well, if you'd like content being made, you know where to come for a studio. But if not, it's the right time to start picking up a copy of Unreal Engine Unity and making real-time engine-driven virtual reality. 360 film and cinematic VR is great, but we know once you step into room scale, it's a completely different thing. And I hope that we all can follow that route forward. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So, Rogers. So in there's never been a better time to be a producer, a director, an investor, an executive right now in immersive technology and virtual reality. It is a wonderful, exciting time, and I just can't tell you how happy I am to be a part of it with all of you. If you have a project or you're interested in developing something together with us, AMD would love to talk to you. You've been a great audience. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much.